Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, readers of Forbes might have seen an article earlier this month entitled, "Russian Navy to be the first to field hypersonic cruise missiles on submarines." Articles like this are a timely reminder of the ever-present need to invest in our military. It can be easy to take U.S. military superiority for granted, but our military preeminence did not come out of nowhere. Our military is strong as a result of sustained investment and commitment. And if we don't stay committed to maintaining our military strength and advantage, we will lose them. Meanwhile, as the Forbes article reminds us, other countries are busy investing in their militaries. Great powers with aggressive military tendencies are building up their armed forces and investing in the weapons and equipment of the future. We need to ensure that our military is not falling behind. Later today, we will vote on additional measures related to the National Defense Authorization Act, legislation that we take up every year to authorize funding for our military and our national defense. Both the House and the Senate passed versions of this legislation this summer. Now members from both houses are working on reconciling the House and Senate versions of the bill. The Senate-passed National Defense Authorization Act was a strong bill, and I hope that the final bill will look a lot like it. Right now, our military is rebuilding after years of underfunding and the strains of the global war on terror. In November 2018, the bipartisan National Defense Strategy Commission released a report warning that our readiness had eroded to the point where we might struggle to win a war against a major power like Russia or China. And the Commission noted that we would be especially vulnerable if we were ever called on to fight a war on two fronts. Here in the Senate, members of both parties have been working together to address the military's rebuilding needs and ensure that we're prepared to meet any threat. The bipartisan National Defense Authorization Act that we passed in the Senate in June authorizes funding for our military's current needs and for the equipment and technology of the future. It invests in ships, combat vehicles, and planes, including development of the future B-21 bomber, which will be based at Ellsworth Air Force Base in my home state of South Dakota, and continued procurement of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, which I hope will someday soon be based at Joe Foss Field in Sioux Falls. It authorizes funding for research and development and advanced technology. It authorizes funds to modernize our nuclear arsenal to maximize our deterrence capabilities. And it focuses on ensuring that we're equipped to meet threats on new fronts, including in the space and cyber domains. Of course, Mr. President, while up-to-date weapons, equipment, and technology are essential, the greatest strength of our military is our men and women in uniform. Both the Senate and House versions of the National Defense Authorization Act authorize a 3.1% pay increase for our troops, the largest increase in a decade. This is not only something our troops have earned, it's also an important way to retain troops in our all-volunteer force when the economy is as strong as it is. Both the House and the Senate bills also focus on addressing the recent significant health and safety issues faced by many families with private on-base housing. I hope House and Senate conferees will produce a strong bill and that both houses will be able to pass this legislation in the near future. Mr. President, in a 1793 address to Congress, President George Washington noted, and I quote, "If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war." End quote. Mr. President, the surest way of preserving peace is to be strong militarily. Weakness is a tempting target for aggressive regimes and for evil men. Strength, on the other hand, can and does restrain those who might otherwise pursue war with the United States or our allies. Maintaining our military strength helps ensure the security of our country and her inhabitants, and it also helps promote peace around the world. Mr. President, we can't change the fact that there will always be bad actors who will threaten our freedom and security, but we can ensure that we are always prepared to meet any threat. I look forward to passing a strong National Defense Authorization Act in the very near future. Mr. President, I yield the floor.